And welcome into another episode of Tiger Territory, presented by Fox One, part of the Foul Territory Network. I'm Kieran Steckley. With me, as always, is a man who is king of his castle, no doubt. He is Cody Stavenhagen. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing all right. We're a full week plus into the off season here. Still a little bit of a weird feeling. Still trying to get my bearings, and still plenty of news coming out and stuff already to discuss. So we can jump right into it. We're going to talk a lot about Tarik Skubal today. We got a little bit of coaching news. We got some other random ideas to bat around. What do you got, Kieran?
Well, first of all, you talk about how, week plus or whatever into the off season. I'm watching the playoffs right now, which you can do via Fox One if you sign up. And I'm like, God, Tigers could have taken advantage of that. Like, you see Julio Rodriguez just not feel the ball off the bounce in the outfield, and it's like, man, couldn't have Suarez misfielding a couple balls like that couldn't happen last week. These guys were impeccable,
Mm-hmm.
but anyway, that is postseason baseball. We are recording this before Game 7, so we do not know what the World Series matchup will be, but it has been a really fun ALCS, and I've enjoyed watching it despite maybe some ill feelings about how the Tigers season ended, but. Let's start with the beginning of the offseason, which is really just Skubal. And we recorded last week. Sometimes we have bad timing, Cody. We recorded last week and not an hour, 90 minutes. John Heyman drops the proverbial news bomb on a Thursday night about the Tiger. Well, they got the attention. It got the attention of everybody.
Of course it did.
The Tigers and Tarik Skubal are, however you want to talk about it, $250 million apart in extension talks. That was the headline. It was kind of an extension. I didn't mean to use that pun, but it was kind of an extension of some parameters of what we already knew last year. So I guess we need to address it because we haven't talked since then. Are the Tigers really and Tarik Skubal really that far apart? That just feels like something that is less basis in reality. But I don't know. I'm not doubting Heyman. But it just feels like a big number, does it not?
This is why I don't like the offseason. I mean, Scott Boras never sleeps, right? So a year ago, there was some offer made. Also been reported that it was 4 years, less than 100 million. And does that make them 250 million apart? I don't think so. If you read what's actually out there, it's not that they're actively negotiating and there's this $250 million nadir. It's that whatever offer was made last winter that was declined, and the perceived market value, there's about a $250 million gap. As far as we know, there's been no secondary offer negotiations last offseason. I'm still a little bit skeptical of even not the accuracy of that, but the veracity of how that's framed. Because if you're starting a negotiation, what are you going to do? You're the team, you're going to start low. And then you're the agent, you're going to start really high. And then you're going to talk, meet. Or never meet and test free agency if you're a Scott Boras client. So I think that's important to remember. Now, we can tell, just through what we do know, that Tigers seems as though have never been serious about presenting Skubal a 10-year offer or whatever. If that is at all in the works, it has not happened yet. So I do think that's important to note. We've heard from Chris Ilitch. We've heard from Scott Harris. We've heard somewhat from Tarik Skubal, and basically none of them have said anything of substance or anything that would indicate that there is real interest in getting a $300, $350, $400 million deal done. I think that's the real takeaway here, is that from all the signs, from all we know, the idea of an extension probably just isn't happening. And I think that's the more important takeaway, regardless of whatever number, whatever framing is kind of in some of these other headlines.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a part of this is a PR negotiation. That's just how these things work. People leak stuff because they want it out. I've said it before. I'll say it again. That's how the game is played. And then Skubal does his part where he goes on podcasts and he, talks about loving to play in Detroit and, he enjoys his time. A team he's drafted by, blah, 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 wants to play here, but then the business side aspect of it. And so like just keep that in mind. Like there's not a lot of things that happen by accident when these things occur. So I just want everybody to remember that from both sides. And you see some stuff on X. I want to also get ahead of this too, Cody. We're a pro labor podcast. Tarik Skubal does not deserve any flack for trying to maximize his value as a professional athlete. So like if you say like, well, he has the power to, he does have the power to, doesn't make him wrong for trying to maximize his financial his financial capability with the talents of his labor. So I just want to put that out there.
Oh, I agree with that. That's one thing about sports when people flip out and he's greedy or whatever. Like, no, he wants to get paid what he's worth. He's a 5-6 win pitcher, so he's going to be worth well over $40 million a year, and he's the best pitcher in the game. So I don't think he's crazy. If he wants an 8, 9, 10-year contract, if he wants a record deal for a starting pitcher, I think he's worth it, and that's a fair ask. And if the Tigers don't want to meet it, then by all means, he should test free agency. And if they do want to meet it and he wants to test free agency anyway, then I don't know. Like, I think everyone else in society in their jobs, like that makes sense to do. And then when an athlete does that, for some reason, there's this negative connotation. I've never got it. It does seem to me like we've never really heard the Tigers' side of this. And that's an interesting thing because it's usually not in teams' best interests to leak details of their negotiations, and it can be sometimes for agents. So let's keep that in mind. But I do wonder, wherever this stuff is coming from, I think we can all probably guess. Does Scott Boras want Tarik Skubal to get traded? My thought is no, because that could take a big fish out of the market. Let's say the New York Mets trade for Tarik Skubal. You know who's probably not spending a ton for another Scott Boras client and what's a somewhat thin free agent pitching market?
Right.
The New York Mets. Like, I think it takes a big fish out of the pond. So I think for Scott Boras's broader interests, he might not want Tarik Skubal to get traded. So I just think that's something else to consider. Yeah. Not that Boras has any control over whether Skubal is traded. He does not. But that's another kind of market factor when you see some of these things come out. Something else to consider.
Yeah,
that's at least my read on it.
He controls the framing of the conversation, or he has the ability to control the framing of the conversation. If he definitely wanted him out, we would know. I think that would be something that would be kind of peddled a little bit heavier. So, and also I think it's fair to say, correct me if I'm wrong here, like Skubal is a very much big picture, union guy. Like I feel like he talks about
subcommittee.
Labor relations a lot. Yeah, the subcommittee. And he's also looking at it as like being a good steward to his fellow major league players, fellow union members, to get the maximum amount of money possible, because the next guy will be able to surpass him. You see what I'm saying? Like that, you see that in other sports sometimes, but like Skubal, I think would definitely probably has that mindset. If I were to guess, I don't know him. He's a friend of the podcast, but that would be a guess of mine. We're going to get to here in a second. We're going to get to what do the Tigers have to do? Like, what do they have to do? But first, a word from our sponsors.
For all you parents out there like me with teenagers trying to already keep a million things under control, Cash App is here to help us make sure your teens' money and their spending isn't adding up to craziness.
With the Cash App card available to teens 13 to 17 with sponsorship by an eligible parent or guardian, every transaction triggers a real-time notification for you to see, empowering your teen to practice independence while giving you peace of mind by keeping track of their spending. You can also manage everything directly from your own Cash App account without having to switch between the two. With the Cash App card, you and your teen's balances receive 24/7 fraud monitoring, and if something ever feels off, you have the ability to lock their card right from your phone in just one tap. If you're ready to give your teen more independence while staying in the loop, start by downloading Cash App and setting up their account today. For a limited time, new Cash App customers can earn $10 if they use code FAMILY10 in their profile at sign up and send $5 to a friend within 14 days. Terms apply. Cash App is a financial services platform, not a bank. Banking services provided by Cash App's bank partners. Prepaid debit cards issued by Sutton Bank, member FDIC. Direct deposit and promotions provided by Cash App, a Block Inc. brand. Visit cashapp.app/legal/podcast for full disclosures.
All right, coming back here. So it seems to me that there are 4 avenues, Cody, that the Tigers and Skubal could venture down in the next year plus. One of them is extension this offseason. Seems unlikely, but that is obviously an option on the table. Another one would be to trade Tarik Skubal. That's the talk of the town right now across Major League Baseball, but that it would certainly generate the most headlines, but that is the second option. Third option is to go into the season with an open mind. Maybe you trade him, maybe you don't. And the fourth option is no matter what, we're going for the ability to get to a World Series, to win a World Series. Obviously, our chances are best with Skubal there, and we just let him play out his contract. And after that, whatever. So my question is, are any of those four options malpractice by the front office? Is there any one of those options that is like a something that an inept front office would do? Because my point is, I would answer my own question first. I think there's an argument for all of them. I think there are solid arguments for even the ones that maybe suck the most, for lack of a better term. But there's an argument for all of them. I'm not sure there's malpractice here, but I asked you the question, what would be your answer?
There's a scenario where the Tigers front office comes out looking really bad. That's that they don't trade him. They can't extend him. They roll into next season. They do a couple things, but they don't really improve the Major League roster that much. They lean on a lot of what they have, hope for internal improvements. And a couple things go wrong, and they're out of it in July, and they trade him at the deadline for what's going to be not a very big return because he's going to be a 2-month rental.
Yeah.
That would then feel like, if that scenario came to play out, that would feel like malpractice. That would feel like this was very poorly handled. That's why I'm kind of a proponent that the Tigers really have to pick a lane, and they have to feel pretty convicted in that lane. Lane one is you understand you can't re-sign him. So you're going to keep him. You're content. You'll write it out. You'll try to win a championship. You'll give him the qualifying offer, get a draft pick, move on. If you're going to do that, you got to be pretty serious about improving this team. So what have we talked about? It seems to me today pretty likely that the projections are going to come out in January, and it's going to be like, oh, the Tigers are 83 wins, something like that. And they can still win the AL Central, but like, what's going to happen between now and then that has you on paper looking like a 90-plus win ball club? I don't know. So I think you got to get real. Bring in a Bregman. Bring in a swing and miss reliever. Do a couple other things that will require either some spending or some very creative maneuvering on the trade market to come in with the intent to win a World Series next year while Tarik Skubal is on your roster. And Kieran, if you do that, to me, that kind of admits that there is a window. Doesn't mean the window is closed when Skubal is gone, but it means admitting your best chance to win a World Series is probably while you have the best pitcher in baseball on your team. That's lane one. Lane two is viewing that as like not practical. You're not going to overspend to try to win with 1 year of Tarik Skubal. You really think you can't re-sign him. You don't believe in windows. You plan on contending for the next 5, 6, 7. You plan on contending infinitely. So what you're going to do is strengthen your organization by trying to trade him for the biggest haul you can. That means you got to trade him right now. That's probably not the popular move, but I do think if you really don't believe in windows, I think it makes some sense. So I think they should do one of those two things. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, there's a synergy aspect to what the Tigers are, which way they will go, regardless of which one it is. There's a synergy aspect that will be established because I do imagine if there's not really any marketed improvements to the roster and like you're going to be down in Lakeland and what is everybody going to be talking about? Going to be talking to Tarik, going to be talking to AJ, especially when, guys are just like, running polls and there's not really anything else to talk about. Is like, how's he feeling? How does he feel about this? And it's going to get old fast. And then, come trade deadline time, we're going to go back. The more things change, the more they say the same. We're going to go back to whether Tarik should be traded at the trade deadline. That's the thing, though. As sometimes when we talk about it, it seems like it's such a well, he's not going to want an extension, and it almost seems like a defeated mindset. It doesn't have to be. You still have the ability to improve your team to make it World Series viable. One could make the argument, we thought that at one point this year. Of course, I say that, and then they're not going to make any, you're going to bank on, as you said, internal improvements, and then it's not going to look all that different. So anyway, I just, it's hard for me to fathom Tarik Skubal getting traded midseason, because at that point, then the diminishing returns are just like, what is it going to be, 35 cents on the dollar? That feels that feels like highly unlikely. There are trades out there that are intriguing right now, but again, with the synergy stuff, you're probably going to have to unload and get younger in some positions also in order to kind of line up. Maybe I don't know if we believe in windows, but I think we should believe in timelines. So you're gonna have to line up the timeline a little bit if you do that. So we're gonna take a quick break, but first I want to remind everybody, and we're gonna get to some Tarik Skubal trades. So that's the tease. I want to remind everybody that this episode of Tiger Territory is brought to you by Fox One. All of our playoff coverage, in fact, is brought to you by Fox One. Fox One is now live. Stream all of your Fox favorites together in one place, including all playoff games and the American League playoff games. So the last one is tonight, and the World Series. On Friday, October, do I have it right? 24th, you can watch Game 1 of the World Series between the Dodgers and either the Mariners or the Blue Jays. Cody, and I'm paraphrasing Dave Roberts here, do you expect that the Dodgers will, quote, keep ruining baseball at the conclusion of this World Series?
No, I think it's going to be a good World Series either way, and I think owners all across the sport could spend as much as they want. There's no salary cap, and there doesn't have to be a salary cap.
There you go. And either way, it's going to make for great TV. Stream it all on Fox One, from MLB postseason to NFL on Fox to big noon Saturdays. With Fox One, you get it all live. Start your 7-day free trial today. Offers subject to change. Go to fox1.com for complete terms and conditions. Fox One, streaming now. Okay, so I was trying to see, Cody, if I could find a good Tarik Skubal trade. And man, is that a hard exercise because I'm trying to figure out, again, with the synergy stuff, I'm trying to figure out what would make sense for a return for Tarik Skubal. And I thought, well, getting younger, having identifiable traits that we believe and know that the Tigers value, and then also having some spectrum of immediacy in terms of value gotten back, which I say that all out loud. It's actually kind of hard to come up with a Tarik Skubal trade that kind of threads all those needles. So why don't we start out with the New York Mets? The New York Mets have been heavily linked to Tarik Skubal speculation. Nothing official, obviously. So I know the text is small here, but for Tarik Skubal and also Wenzel Perez. So keep this in mind. I threw in Perez there as a sweetener. Carson Binge, Jeff McNeil, Blade Tidwell, and Jacob, I don't know if it's Reamer or Raymer, but that would be the number 2 prospect for the Mets, their current second baseman, their number 6 prospect, who's a corner infielder, and a young pitcher another young arm who has a little bit of major league experience. So here's my thought process on that. Outfield prospect in Binge, who has a lot of upside, left-handed hitter. People like his plate approach. And like I said, number two prospect in Double-A last year, he had a 978 OPS. That feels like that's a trait that you can get behind. McNeil, you have a little bit of team control. You talk about swing and miss. He only struck out 55 times last year. He was a 2-WAR player. There is some defensive versatility in there. Yes, he's a little older. He's like 33, 34. Blade Tidwell and Jacob Reimer are kind of just like, let's get some not necessarily high upside, but some guys with some traits who make some sense and maybe can figure out into either the minor league system where you're about to have holes or push for some major league time. So the headline is Binge and McNeil, because that's the top 20-ish prospect in baseball. That's an established major leaguer, and And again, Benj is a guy who could help you probably sometime this year. That's why I was comfortable with partying with Perez in this trade. So I know I said a lot there, Cody, but what do you think?
Yeah, these things are hard. It depends a lot on your evaluations of the prospects at hand. I don't know that I love the idea of the Tigers getting Jeff McNeil. He is left-handed, which they kind of don't need more of. He is versatile, which is always helpful. I do like the idea of somehow getting proven major league talent in one of these trades, and that's probably kind of the hardest thing to do when you're talking about dealing with a contending team. But just looking at some of the farm systems across the game, I think the Mets do strike me as the most obvious suitor. The trade I kind of like a lot would be Jonah Tong, Brandon Sproat, and Jet Williams. That's two young pitchers who could help you in the major leagues. Tong's a guy I like a lot, throws hard, has kind of that north-south profile. Jet Williams, he's 5'7", which is interesting, but he can play outfield. He can play up the middle in the infield. Walked at a 23% clip in the minors, and he hits the ball in the air a lot. There's probably some strikeout concern, though. So, again, what do your scouts think of a player like Jet Williams? I don't know. If you could talk the Mets and do Nolan McLean, their best pitching prospect, instead of a Tong or a Sproat, man, I think that'd be a heck of a return. I'm going to assume you can't talk him into McLean. But if you got two young pitchers and a middle of the diamond athlete with some real upside, I think that is a pretty good baseline for what you need to get back for Tarik Skubal. It needs to be pitchers who can help you soon, as in next year, and have some upside and improve your position playing core a little bit. Just looking at farm systems across the game in terms of contending teams that would be willing to take on Tarik Skubal, the Mets do strike me as the team where there are a few different configurations of prospects that I think could be pretty interesting.
Yeah. And again, everything you said there feels valid. I just felt like it's going to be, you're going to have to really talk me out if I'm the Tigers out of not getting one of those top two prospects. That one of them already is a major leaguer and has shown the ability to be an ace. The other one, is knocking on the door and has as much promise as anyone that you could reasonably get in a trade. But at the same time, the traits that you laid out there make a lot of sense. Those the 2, 3, 4 Mets prospects basically is what you're getting. And again, if you can get somebody with high upside, if you can get somebody with some immediacy, if you can kind of blend that, that's what we're trying to do here. And that brings me to another desperate team, same division actually, in the National League East, the Philadelphia Phillies. Feels like they're at their wits' end of trying to, get past the Dodgers, win a World Series in Dombrowski's tenure there. So I kind of went big here, Cody. Andrew Painter, that's their number one pitching prospect. That's a guy that, 6'7", 215. We want to talk about extension with that guy. And then Justin Crawford, who's an outfielder, their third ranked prospect. And then again, just trying to find somebody that has a little bit of upside. Brian Rincon, he's a middle infield prospect. He's 21 years old. He is not refined at all, but he has the athletic ability that a lot of teams seem to like, and we'll see. So that's 1 year of Tarik Skubal for, again, a top 20 pitching prospect, a top 40 fielding outfield prospect, and then just kind of a dart throw as a prospect in Rincon. So that was my thought process there. This is really taking advantage of a desperate team if you can get them to part with these guys.
Are you the perils of a Dave Dombrowski team? That farm system's starting to look a little bit thinned out. After making some bold moves at the deadline, I think they would have to give up Painter for a deal with the Phillies to even be viable. And after trading so many prospects, would you really trade Andrew Painter for 1 year of Tarik Skubal? They have some other work to do. They're really trying to trade Nick Castellanos. I'm not sure they're going to have many takers. If you can get Painter, I think it's worth discussion, but that would be a very bold move to trade a guy like that.
Yeah, and again, it's Dombrowski's not afraid to make bold moves, so you could probably talk him in. And also there is of note here, there is a working relationship between Dombrowski and Scott Harris. They made the Soto trade together. So I always think, especially if you look at Scott Harris's reputation, I always think take into account maybe somebody he's had some.
Do we want to re-up the Alec Boehm stuff? Because I think they're still looking to shop him, and he had kind of an all right year. He's only 1.3 WAR, but 287 average, 333 on base.
Put him in the trade. Put him in the
Let's
trade.
get some major league ready talent. Come on.
Yeah, I like that. All right. Last one that I have here is with the Boston Red Sox. A team that I don't think I would classify as desperate as the Mets or the Phillies, but a team nonetheless that has shown a certain level of aggression. They have more prospects than they can reasonably use here moving forward. So a couple of different options here. I thought about putting Christian Campbell in this. He was good in AAA after getting demoted after his Rookie of the Month, April. So like, there is something there. I thought about that. Again, fill in second base, outfield versatility as well. So I know he's on the screen, but I thought about it. The password is intriguing as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I went with Franklin Arias, their number one prospect. I misspelled it. I think it's Connerly Early. So that's a typo.
Early,
yeah, that is a typo on my part. And Justin Gonzalez for 1 year of Tarik Skubal service time. Arias is like a year away. It seems like he's young. He's only 19. You're starting to think about, I know everybody loves Bryce Rayner, but injury, what's his best position? Who knows? Like, it's not a bad idea to have another shortstop in the system that has high upside. Arias certainly qualifies as that. But again, you could put Christian Campbell in there, and I think that's worth a talking point. Dare I say Marcelo Meyer? Is that the avenue you want to go down? But the thing about the Red Sox is there are a lot of options that you can kind of pick through if you want to create a Skubal trade. So that's why I put them in there.
Yeah, this is the type of thing where, again, it comes down to the Tigers needing to pick a lane with their organizational philosophy. What do they want, and can they be convicted in whatever it is that they want and that they see for this organization? Franklin Arias draws comparisons to Marcelo Meyer at a similar age. He's a couple years away from the big leagues. But if you just want an embarrassment of riches coming up through your system, maybe this move makes sense, even though it would kind of look like you're not putting yourself in a great position for 2026. There were a way to, let's say the Red Sox get Bregman. They re-sign him. Might they be willing to move on from Christian Campbell? If you could get him in this trade, that suddenly looks pretty appealing. Yeah, I'm still looking. Is there a team that would be willing to do an old school baseball trade? You know what, the Tigers could take on payroll. Is there anyone looking to dump payroll but stay competitive? I don't know. Texas Rangers, maybe? Ooh. Is there anything there? Tarik Skubal for Corey Seager? Throwing Kumar Rocker? Huh? Probably not going to happen, but it seems like that'd get the Twitter sphere going. Rangers want to get cheaper, but still contend. No, they're not moving Langford. Yeah, let's get Meyer and Langford. And yeah, if we're living in reality, I don't see a deal like that happening. But I wonder if something like that is out there, something a little bit old school, and the Tigers could take on some payroll for a still good player, not a Nick Castellanos, but it would also make sense for the other team still trying to win. So many of these farm systems of contending teams just don't really, like, it's going to be hard to really get top tier value. And I do think that's the one thing that works in the Tigers' favor is they don't have to trade him. They do have the leverage. They can just say, no, we'll run it back. We'll try to win a championship this year and give him the qualifying offer. I think it's very important the Tigers get this right. I think there's a real case that trading him could work out, but you got to get some good players, multiple good players in return. And we're still talking about, we'll probably talk this out the rest of the offseason. But I think you can already tell it's hard to really find that one trade where you go, oh, yeah, that's it. And it's going to make sense for both sides.
Well, okay, so that's the thing. Like, trying to find a trade, like, the Tigers can trade. And honestly, if trading Skubal is the move, so I'm saying if trading Skubal is the move, the deal has to be a non-rebuild deal, in my opinion.
Right.
Because you still have too many other talented players. You have AJ Hinch, like, too good of a manager to go into some sort of like quote unquote rebuild. That's why any Verlander trade comparisons are completely different because the team's in a completely different spot, right?
No, you need some major league grade talent. You need some
or
pitching. You need some pitching in this deal.
Some guys that are knocking on the door or whatever. But you gotta it's not a sell. You're sort of like buying additional years, if that makes sense. That's how you gotta look at a potential Skubal trade, in my opinion. And again, maybe that narrows the market a little bit in terms of like what is actually available to you. And the danger I would say about any of this is you're gonna have to kind of guess about timing, and you better get it right. So it's like if you strike out on a free agent that like a position player free agent, say like Labor moves on, then you're kind of like then maybe this makes a little bit more sense to try to trade because your team's gonna be less talented next season potentially. So
yeah,
again,
that's an interesting way to look at it. Do you let the winter play out, and then if it doesn't go your way, you trade them? Or do you trade them early and then make moves based on that? And what are other teams thinking at the same time? In a way, Tarik Skubal is the biggest fish on the market, even though he's not officially on the market. So I do wonder if that puts pressure on the rest of the league to move in November, early December, rather than let this thing drag out forever. Garrett Crochet moved pretty early in the offseason last winter.
Again, I'd be interested to see if anybody puts a Godfather offer out there because that's probably going to be what it takes to get Scott Harris's attention. At this point, especially early on.
I was looking at the Padres. I was like, AJ Preller still feeling the heat. He's the one guy, and it's like, well, they pretty much traded everyone away other than Ethan Salas. And would they trade him? And do the Tigers even need a catcher? I don't know. I don't know if Preller has this move in him. The Dodgers remain out there, though. Dodgers, we didn't even talk about. Deep farm system. Still deep.
Yeah. Out of respect for their World Series run, I did not include them on this list. But now there will be a time where we will talk about that for sure. All right.
The Mariners.
Mm-hmm. Could be. This is not the last we're going to talk about this, but I did kind of want to get like a framework of how I'm thinking about any potential Skubal trade, how you're thinking about any potential Skubal trade, and then what you guys think. Like, hit us up on X, comment on YouTube or whatever. Like, is there a comfortable way to go about this in your opinion? Because that's another thing too. How much can you stomach? I say this a lot. How much can you stomach? That's what the money's for, Scott Harris. Okay. Little more current, actual, tangible team news, Cody. The Tigers, there was a report, and I believe you had it confirmed that Anthony Iapoce will not return as first base coach this next season. So we talked about after the news conference to end the year whether the Tigers would have any staff changes. A lot of this stuff is pretty inevitable, but this is the first domino to fall.
Yeah, for sure. Iapoce won't be back. He was, as far as I could tell, a really well-liked coach, popular with the players, energetic presence, robust experience. He managed the Mud Hens for a year. He was hitting coach with the Cubs and with the Rangers. So it seems like a thing where maybe he's going to be able to seek some other opportunities, something that might fit him better, whether it's a hitting coach role or maybe, I don't know, anything other than first base coach. I'd expect at least one more move probably coming on the major league staff, some shuffling in the minors like there always is. I think we have a little more to come in terms of coaching news, but maybe not anything major or groundbreaking at the same time.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I haven't really seen a whole lot of Lombard links.
Not a ton that's out there publicly. I'm sure some of these manager searches will pick up, especially after the World Series. But as of right now, it does seem like he's kind of died down as a hot name. But there's a lot of offseason left. There's a lot of vacancies. So let's see where that leads.
And speaking of Lombard, I tried to create a Yankees trade for Skubal, and I couldn't get there. Like, I just didn't really like Lombard Jr.'s obviously.
They'd have to give Lombard Jr., which they probably don't want to do.
He's also a couple years away, so again, that doesn't fit the give you some immediacy. It's like, do you want Spencer Jones? You know what I mean?
Maybe
Like,
is he actually a center fielder?
Yeah, like, so I'm not disputing like him as a prospect. It's like you want like another outfielder, maybe a little bit plotting presence. Like, yeah, it's like, that's just a rabbit hole I went down. I couldn't get there with the Yankees, but the offseason's still young. Maybe I'll come up with one a little bit later. So that's why I always say take advantage of the opportunities when they come, because Lombard gets interviewed, doesn't get them, then all of a sudden the world kind of passes you by. So if you get offered these jobs, why did this guy take this job? There's only so many of them, so take them if they're offered. So anyway, we will be back later this week, and any news and updates, we'll have that for you guys. But we're plodding along with the off-season content, and it's a lot of fun to talk about right now, and in theory, and make predictions and see how right or wrong you are. Please tell us how right or wrong we are on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Cody Stavenhagen. I am at Kieran_Steckley. Pod page at Tiger Territory _ YouTube, Apple, Spotify, Instagram. You guys know what to do. TigerTerritoryShop.com for all your Tiger Territory merch. So for Cody Stavenhagen, I'm Kieran Steckley. Everybody have a great day.